Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can create an add-on for IoTLink so that you can send data from your PC to whatever MQTT server you have. In my case, I'm sending data from my laptop to Home Assistant. So in this way, you can see the CPU usage, you can see here RAM, battery information. I can also execute commands remotely, so I can shut down my PC, reboot it, lock it, control the volume. Yeah, so it's very useful if you want to integrate it in Home Assistant, for example. The one thing that it's missing, and I would like to use it, is the CPU temperature. So the Windows Monitor add-on doesn't have this information, and I want to create another add-on that does this. So this is what you're going to see today. Let me jump straight to the point and show you the developers page. So this is the documentation that you need for creating an add-on. So the first thing you have to do is to clone the solution. I already did that. I am on the latest branch, on the latest commit from develop. Okay, I already have the solution opened in Visual Studio 2019. I opened the solution as an administrator because you need to do that in order to run the service. Okay, so the first step would be to run the service from Visual Studio. I'm going to stop the existing service. Okay, and if I go here, you can see that the CPU usage is unavailable. So before starting, we need to do something. We have to specify this debug argument for the IoTLink service project. Okay, I'm going to save, build this. Let's see if the entire solution built successfully, and it did. Build succeeded, and now let's start it. When you run the solution, it will use your existing configuration. In my case, it's this configuration right here. So here I have the credentials for my MQTT server from Home Assistant. And let's see if it worked. So I should have some values here. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, the CPU usage is not unavailable anymore. It sends data every 10 seconds. And if you look at the service, you can see that it is stopped. So now I'm sending data from Visual Studio. Now let's create our own monitor. I could create another solution, and probably it would be better for you to do that. But in order to make these things simple, I'm going to create my project in the existing solution so I can reference projects directly. Okay, so what we have to do now is to create a new library. It will be a class library, .NET Framework, not .NET Core or .NET Standard. And let's call it temperature monitor. Okay. And we'll rename this class to temperature service. Yep, that should be fine. Okay, I'll open the Windows Monitor service, and as you can see here, we have to inherit from service add-on, and this class is in the IoTLink API project. Okay, so we'll inherit from service add-on as well. I'll add this using ReSharper. So we're adding a reference to IoTLink API, and you'll see the reference here. It's a direct reference to the project. Okay, and the next thing that we have to do is to override the init. If I'm mistaken. Yep. Let's do that. Override init. Okay, and once we did that, you can see that there are a lot of conventions here. So they created different monitors for the CPU, for the memory, and so on. I want to keep things simple. Okay, so I'll just take the most important information from here. I'm not interested for the moment when you're connected to MQTT, okay, when you're disconnected, and so on. So the first thing I'll do is this one, setup discovery, okay, because When you create a new sensor, you want to send discovery information to Home Assistant to the MQTT server. Okay, and this is the thing that we need. Okay, this function call. Okay, this one stays unchanged. The topic will have to send something like stats, CPU, temperature. Okay, because we're sending the temperature of the CPU. Next, it's the prefix, and from what I could see, the prefix for the CPU is this one, just CPU, and the discovery options is an object of type has discovery options. Okay, it requires an ID, which would be temperature in our case, then a unit, and I'll just paste this because it's degrees Celsius. Then the name, it's temperature. Component. This is a this one is a sensor, so that's what we have to send. And the icon, which would be MDI thermometer. Yeah, this is a material design icon. Okay, so now every time our monitor is started, the init function will be called. Discovery message will be published to the MQTT server. And now we have to update this sensor. I will do it hard-coded every 10 seconds. Okay, I'm not going to read this from a YAML file. So as you can see here, they're using a monitor. Yeah, this one. And this monitor will send information every 1 second. So I'm going to do something similar. Sorry, not there. Okay. And let's do something like this. Monitor equals new timer. Okay. The interval should be 10 seconds. Okay, that's 10,000 milliseconds. The elapsed function. So this is the function that will be called every 10 seconds, and let's start it. Okay, now in this function, we'll have to retrieve the temperature of the CPU and send it to the server. In order to do that, I found a nice little library. Where is it? Okay, called Libre Hardware Monitor Lib. Okay, and once we have this installed, we can retrieve the temperature of the CPU. Now, in order to debug this, I'm just going to do something to make it easier. I'll create a console app. Okay, where is that add? Okay, and I'll call it monitor test app or something like that. But now the only purpose of this app is to add a reference to our monitor. Okay, and it will do something like this: temperature service.get temperature. Actually, let's display this. Okay, we'll create this function. It's not a boolean, it's an no, it's an int. Yeah, I don't want the temperature of my CPU to be 64.3 degrees Celsius or something like that. Just need the whole number. Okay, and now let's use that function. If we Google this library hardware monitor lib, we'll see a sample here. So what we have to do is to create a new computer and open it. I'm just going to copy this, but I'm going to remove the other stuff because we just need a CPU. Okay, once we have that, the computer has a list of hardware and we need only the hardware that is the CPU. For the sake of simplicity, I'll just assume that you have only one CPU. That's not only one core, that's one CPU. Okay, now we need to retrieve the temperature from the CPU sensors. And the CPU has multiple sensors. It has load sensors, it has TJ max temperature, it has the regular temperature. So I think it's easier to just debug it. Let's return 0 here. Okay, so I'm just, no, that's not good. I don't want to start the service, I just want to start the console app that I just created. This one. Let's set it as startup service. And let's run this piece of code. Yeah, and this one has to be static, I think. Actually, it is. Oh, yeah, this one needs a reference to IoTLink API. Now let's run it. Okay, and this is our CPU. This is our list of sensors. And here we can see that we have load sensors. This is the sensor type. Okay, so I'm just selecting what properties I'm interested, so they will appear in debug right here. This is a native function from Visual Studio. Okay, so here's what we see. There are 33 sensors. Okay, there are load sensors, there are temperature sensors, and these are the ones that we're interested in. Their type is temperature, but we also have the CPU package, which is the temperature sensors, and this one, distance to TG max, which are also temperature sensors. The CPU package, from what I understand, it's the case of the CPU or something like that. So we're not interested in that. We just want the temperature from the cores, and we want to do an average of that temperature. I don't know if this is correct or not. For me, this works fine. So we're going to filter this list and retrieve only sensors that start with CPU core and don't have TJ max in their name. Okay. Let's do that. Okay, so let's filter this list and let's say sensors dot where s dot name dot starts with CPU core. Okay, and name dot to lower that contains TJ max equals false. Okay, let's put a variable temperature. Okay, and let's see if this works. So we should have 6 sensors in here. No, there are 19 sensors. And that's, oh yeah, forgot something. And s dot type is temperature. Let's run it again. And we have our 6 sensors that represent the temperature of the CPU. We're going to make an average. Yeah. And this one is a nullable float, so we'll just get the value of default. They should all have a value, so let's keep things simple and return it. And we should return this as an int. Okay, I'll just run it like this. And it's 87. If I do a while true, and I'll use a thread sleep 1000, then I should see the CPU temperatures updating live, and this is core temp, which shows around 85. Yeah, so there's one core that is over 90 or around 90, and the other ones are lower, so the average is around 84, 85. Okay, so now that this works, we're ready to send this information to the MQTT server. This is what we have to do. So the temperature topic, we're going to extract it in a field called temperature topic. Okay, and the average temperature equals get temperature. Yep. So now if we run this, it should send temperature to Home Assistant, but there's one thing that we have to do. There's a method called load internal add-ons in service add-on manager. Yep. And here we have to specify our created add-on. So we're going to give him a new temperature service. We're also going to add a reference to it. So if you take a look, the service add-on manager is in the IoTLink service project. And in this project, I added the reference to our temperature monitor project. So now when it will load the internal add-ons, it will load our add-on as well. For the external add-ons, you have to look here in the IoTLink installation folder. We have the add-ons folder, and this is where we're going to place our add-on after we see that it works from Visual Studio. Okay, so if you want to send this add-on to other people, they will have to come here and place the add-on. Okay, now let's collapse all this and run the the IoT service. Okay, we'll also let's set some breakpoints just to see that our add-on is going to start. So it should first start here. Okay, we'll continue, and then it should go on here after 10 seconds. The temperature is 87, and let's see if it sent it to Home Assistant. Yep, here is our sensor, which should update again when 10 seconds will pass. Yep, it did that. So now our add-on works from Visual Studio, but if you want to send this to to someone else, then you'll have to create it as an external add-on. You won't just send them the code, right? Okay, in order to do that, there's one more thing that we have to add to our project, actually 2 more things. We need an addon.yaml. So this one just gives IoTLink some information about your monitor, about your add-on, sorry. I'm just going to copy this to the temperature monitor project, and I'm going to rename this to temperature monitor. The DLL will be temperature monitor.dll, and the name will be temperature monitor. Let's make this copy to output directory, build this as release, and let's see if it works. So this is our project. Let's go to bin, release. This is the DLL that we need and the add-on. You see it was copied to build directory. We'll have to create a new folder in here. Temperature monitor. Okay, we'll copy the files. And now if you restart this, it will send information to Home Assistant. But it won't. So as you can see, more than 10 seconds will pass. Yep, and there's no data coming here. And the reason is because we have dependencies that are not added in our DLL. So if I do something like this, I'll try to catch this exception. Okay, let's build this again. Okay, we just need to copy the temperature monitor. Okay, and let's go to the logs, but first we'll have to stop this. No, not this one, logs. Let's delete the logs, start IoTLink, open it in Notepad. Okay, let's refresh it and search for our failed. Nope, not there yet. Yep, failed to send temperature, file not found exception, and it couldn't find our library, libre hardware monitor lib. So in order to fix this, there's a quick solution. We'll just have to integrate that library in our DLL. In order to do that, we'll go here. Okay, let me stop this. In order to fix this, we'll have to add another package called Costura Fodi. Yep, this one. So now we just had to add this package in our solution. That's all. After we build it, we'll see that our DLL, which previously had 7 kilobytes, will be a bit bigger. Okay, now we'll build this again. And let's take a look in here. So now it has 7 kilobytes, and now it has, after the build, it has 872 kilobytes. In 2021, this should not be an issue concerning storage. So we're going to copy this again to the add-ons folder, then to the temperature monitor folder, replace the one that's already there, and we'll just have to restart the service. Okay, and now you can see that data is being updated here every 10 seconds. So that's it. If you want to send this to someone, you'll just have to send them this folder, ask them to add it to the add-ons folder in IoTLink, and that's it. Just restart the service and see the new data in Home Assistant or whatever server you have. I'll put this in repository and link it in the description of the video. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.